When Kern Lima sat down for a podcast interview, her first appearance as a guest on someone else's show, no one expected it would turn into a subtle but definitive commentary on Meghan Markle is a public persona. But then Meghan's name came up, paired with the words user and hypocrite, and Jaime's response was unforgettable. She didn't flinch, she didn't frown, she didn't even try to smooth things over with diplomatic spin. Instead, she let out a calm, effortless laugh, the kind of laugh that shakes the table without raising a voice. It wasn't mocking, or mean, but it was loaded with meaning. Girl, please. That moment, though small, was revealing. Meghan is known for her carefully curated vulnerability, the perfectly lit moments, the softly filtered tears, the empowerment messaging woven into a brand that always seems to orbit around her personal experiences. But Kern Lima, founder of IT Cosmetics and a self-made billionaire, comes from a different school of empowerment entirely. She's built her life and career on authenticity, even famously removing her makeup on national TV to show her rosacea and skin texture in an industry obsessed with perfection. She turned that realness into a $1.2 billion empire, selling her brand to L'Oreal in 2016 after facing over 1,000 rejections. No royal titles, no shortcuts, no pity narratives. So when Meghan reportedly labeled Jaime a user, the accusation didn't land. Jaime doesn't need Meghan's approval or association to stay relevant. She mentors women without needing applause, shows up without turning moments into press opportunities, and never treats empowerment as a vanity project. In contrast, Meghan's public messaging often seems to imply, support women but especially me. The podcast itself offered a perfect contrast between the two women's approaches. Meghan's appearances often come with a glossy finish, styled hair, professional lighting, an image of vulnerability that still feels staged. In this episode, she even appeared without eye makeup, as if to signal raw emotion, except, as the hosts joked, there wasn't a tear in sight. She projected pain but seemed camera-ready in every other respect. When confronted with Meghan's alleged insult, Jaime's laugh was more than amusement, it was a line in the sand. She wasn't shaming Meghan's personal story, but she wasn't buying the self-centered framing of empowerment either. Empowerment, for Jaime, is a collective movement, not a mirror for one person's grievances. The subtext is important. Meghan's public brand is built on narratives of being wronged by the royal family, by the press, by business partners, by anyone who disagrees. There's a cycle to it. The story begins with charm and inspiration, turns into grievance and conflict, and ends with blame pointed outward. Each setback becomes an interview opportunity, each disagreement a chance to revisit her victimhood in another format. Jaime, on the other hand, doesn't play that game. She doesn't have to. Her achievements and reputation are her defense. She's walked through fire in the business world, and she knows the difference between using hardship as fuel and using it as a shield. The conversation also touched on Meghan's broader image problem in Hollywood. When she and Prince Harry first stepped back from royal duties, they were a hot commodity, fresh, bold, disruptive. Major streaming platforms signed big contracts. Their story was billed as a modern fairy tale, two people breaking free from an outdated institution to tell their truth. But that energy has faded. Executives and producers are growing weary of the Sussex circus. Missed deadlines, shifting visions, and inconsistent messaging have created frustration behind the scenes. What once felt revolutionary now feels repetitive, even exhausting. Hollywood is allergic to two things, bad press and boredom. Meghan and Harry are now teetering toward the latter. This fatigue isn't just about overexposure. It's about lack of evolution. Jaime's laugh, that single, dismissive chuckle, mirrored what industry insiders have been whispering. The fascination is gone. The brand's novelty wore off. Without fresh substance, the constant framing of themselves as wronged victims has turned from compelling to draining. Part of the issue is that Meghan's empowerment message feels conditional. In the world she presents, supporting women often comes with an asterisk, support her first and foremost. Even in podcast settings, meant to spotlight other people's achievements, Meghan often positions herself at the center. The example here was her conversation with Hannah Mendoza, founder of Clever Blends, a company Meghan invested in. Rather than focus on Mendoza's journey, Meghan's presence loomed large, steering the tone and framing. There was even a moment, the hosts claimed, where Meghan seemed to mock Mendoza's appearance, undermining the supposed sisterhood vibe. Jaime's own career proves the opposite approach works. She invests in others without making it a personal branding exercise. She doesn't select proteges based on how well they can publicly praise her. She doesn't use their platforms to tell her own story again and again. The broader entertainment industry is noticing the difference. Meghan and Harry's relationships with collaborators have reportedly soured over unmet expectations. Production staff have described working with them as unpredictable. Even stylists and PR professionals quietly distance themselves from the couple, wary of the drama that seems to follow. The pattern is predictable: high initial enthusiasm, followed by mounting complications, ending in a breakup with public blame placed elsewhere. It's not that Meghan burns bridges in the traditional sense. She nukes them, then calls the fallout healing. This tendency has cost her goodwill. The royal family saga was compelling the first time. By the fifth retelling, audiences are restless. The Spotify split wasn't shocking. It was another item in a growing list of partnerships that didn't work out. Netflix has reportedly been harder to please. For Hollywood decision-makers, the question now isn't whether Meghan and Harry are interesting, it's whether they're worth the risk. Name recognition still matters, but it only carries a brand. So far, if public trust and patience wear thin, executives are reluctant to invest in projects that could be derailed by over-control of the narrative, or another round of public grievances. Kern Lima understands brand loyalty better than most. She built it from nothing, earned it through persistence, and knows it can be lost if the story stops resonating. Her laugh, in this context, wasn't a petty dismissal of Meghan. It was the seasoned reaction of someone who's watched the market turn on overhyped brands. That laugh also captured a cultural shift. The era of victimhood as PR strategy is losing its grip. Audiences are craving accountability over endless deflection. They still value authenticity, but they can sense when it's being staged. And they're tiring of celebrities who present every criticism as proof of persecution. Jaime doesn't invalidate pain. She's been through her own struggles, but she draws a line at weaponized fragility. There's a difference between healing in public and monetizing hardship. And she clearly feels Meghan crosses that line. Meghan and Harry aren't doomed, but they are on thin ice. Their platform is still enviable. Their reach is still impressive, but as Jaime's example shows, potential without humility and adaptability is a liability. If they want redemption, they'll need to shed the performative sorrow, stop pointing fingers at every institution or partner that disappoints them, and start owning their role in the chaos. In short, Kern Lima's laugh wasn't just about Meghan. It was about the state of an entire brand, one that began as a bold new chapter in royal history, and is now in danger of becoming a tired rerun.